Hello and welcome back to Rasmussen Law's YouTube channel. My name is Matthew Rasmussen, and this is our video series on guardianships in the state of New Jersey. This particular video is going to be focused on who or what the likely factual scenarios are that I see coming through the door in terms of people who need guardianships. Okay? Later on, we're going to talk about, in another video, that is to say, we're going to talk about how to avoid a guardianship, why you'd want to avoid a guardianship, and the mechanics of a guardianship suit. But let's get into the typical fact patterns I see when clients come into my office. And they're basically broken down into 2 or 3 categories. The first is an individual who hasn't undergone any type of estate planning documents. That is to say, they don't have a power of attorney in place and have lost capacity. The second are individuals who have had estate planning done, but unfortunately the power of attorney is abusing his or her power. And the third is a very unfortunate situation where perhaps the individual never had capacity to make their own decisions, and maybe it's an 18-year-old who has never had capacity, and the parents are looking to get legal guardianship, or I should say continue legal guardianship after the age of majority. So let's talk about each one of those in detail. First situation. You're an individual, or your parent was an individual, that never underwent any type of estate planning. And now you typically what we'll see is a son or daughter come in and say, well, you know, I've noticed mom or dad aren't really paying their bills anymore. They aren't cleaning up. They used to be a neat freak. They aren't really cleaning up anymore. I have concerns about their legal capacity. That's typically when someone will come in. Sometimes people are able to skate by bringing their parent to the bank and sort of helping them with filling out the forms and everything like that. But at some point, the bank will actually say, or the bank representative will actually say, you know, we're no longer comfortable. We know you've been helping out mom or dad, but we're no longer comfortable with you filling out this paperwork. We think that your parent probably has lost legal capacity. You need to file a guardianship. So either before that point or at that point, the child will come in and say, I'd like to be my mother or father's guardian, and that way I can continue paying the bills, make sure that healthcare decisions are being made, so on and so forth. And again, typically this is probably about 80%, perhaps higher, of parents in this situation are dementia patients, are in the stages of Alzheimer's, somewhere on the Alzheimer's spectrum, and so that's pretty typical. To see them come in, either if they've been able to wait that long at the end of that process or somewhere along that process. That's to be sort of juxtaposed against the second type of scenario, typical factual scenario I see, where the mom or dad, I'll just say, it could be anyone, aunt, uncle, the elderly individual, has undergone some estate planning, and in fact did execute a durable power of attorney, so otherwise there would be no guardianship. However, the cousin, son, daughter comes into the office and says, you know, my relative has been taking care of mom, dad, and uncle, and I'm just not comfortable with how they're doing it. Either I suspect them of taking money on behalf, that is clearly not in the best interests of my mom or dad. So, for example, a pretty common, in this area at least, a common factual scenario is perhaps the power of attorney doesn't have a job, and the family is starting to see them put a pool in the backyard, or maybe drive around with a new car or something like that. that could be cause for concern. Essentially, these are situations where a relative comes in because they suspect or know that the power of attorney is not making decisions in the best interest of the ward or the principal, which is what we would call the ward in a durable power of attorney situation. And so not only are they trying to get guardianship over mom or dad in this situation, but they're actually also trying to get rid of the previous decision maker because they've abused their power. So again, that's another situation, a fairly common factual situation, where people will come into the office. And the third, as I previously mentioned, is thankfully much rarer, but still a situation of concern and pretty typical. And that's a situation where the individual never had legal capacity, but has reached the age of 18. And once you reach the age of 18 in New Jersey, you're the age of majority. And legally, you're making your own decisions at that point. So that terminates your parents' ability to make those decisions for you. And so legal guardianship is needed in these cases because the child doesn't have legal capacity to make decisions, and the parent wants continued authority to make those decisions for the child as they go on. So those are the three main types of factual scenarios that I see in my practice of which a guardianship would be necessary. If you think that maybe one of your loved ones or your family is in one of those factual scenarios, I'd encourage you to call the office at 732-595-1591. Again, the number is 732-595-1591 to schedule a consultation, and we can talk about the process moving forward and confirm that you need a guardianship, or maybe even say, maybe it's not needed in this situation. But either way, we'd be happy to help you. And thanks a lot. I'll see you in the next video. Bye now.